Hi everybody, my name is Jesse Hutton and this is my brand new YouTube channel, and I am going to show you some really cool stuff with Ableton little by little. But one of the first things I want to show you is about how to get a good workflow going to create a really solid default page. So when you open up Ableton every single time and you want to start a brand new project, it's already set like this and ready to go. And I'll explain why I do some of the things that I do in a little more detail. And I will show you some of these really cool, fun things that just seem to work out really, really well. But first, what I do want to show you is, let's just get started. We'll just dive right in and we'll start over here on the very far left. These two are my ghost tracks. In fact, I'm going to make them nice and pretty and white or gray or something, since they're ghosts. Sorry, I'm going to warn you, I will probably make some really bad puns. Please don't hate me. Alright, well, what we're going to do first is explain why I enjoy multiple ghost tracks. Well, part of the reason is sometimes I do different type of sidechain patterns or that is not involved on just the kick, or having some sounds that are on the background. In fact, I can just show you that these are basically just signal generators. Like if you see, there's no noise coming out of them whatsoever. If I actually turn the channel on, a little Mario there. Unintentional, but literally these two channels are used specifically for sidechain and gate signals. We'll get into that at some of the tutorial, but this is just literally step one. So I'm going to get into my percussion section, which is this green section that's from here to here. Well, as you can see here, you can see that each of these channels are set up to have individual percussions. And the reason is, and this is a really good example, and this is why I do it, I personally like a lot of control. And what I mean by control is if I expand this hi-hat section, you will notice that in the drum rack there are no individual sends for each channel. Personally, I don't like that, and here's the reason why. There are some times where you may not want to send your entire percussion section to the same reverb. You may want your claps or your high end on maybe a longer reverb, and your kick maybe you just want it dry for some reason. It just gives you the more options and gives you the option to have a little bit more control. So what you want to do is you want to create individual MIDI tracks for each, and I basically have it set up for kick, hat, clap, crash. Well, let's just rename this to clap / snare, which that's, you can do it whatever. This is just my example that I wanted to show you. So what you do is you create each individual MIDI track and you put a drum rack on them, like you see down here. And then what you do is you create a blank MIDI, and with this will actually be what triggers all of these. And now what you do is you'll highlight all of your tracks in between and come right here where it says MIDI from. You'll select this down, and notice how this says MIDI of perk, as in percussion. That is the name of this channel. So you'll want to select that, and it will actually auto-select for the rest of the ones that you have selected. Now, by doing so, this allows you to arm this track, and we'll turn this one off. Arm this track, and by arming it, this is playing on my push, and notice how, as I'm playing it, each of the tracks are coming up with individuals. So this way I just have more control. I can focus on my kick, I can focus on my hi-hat, I can focus on my snare, and really get everything dialed in the way that I want it. And what's really cool is, instead of having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different MIDI lanes, you can just have one singular MIDI lane to run all of your stuff. So it just gives you that extra layer of control. There's a Grammy right there. Oh, just kidding. So after that, after you start with your percussion, usually you want to add bass. And basically all I have done here is set up multiple channels I've got some silent, massive. I'm going to add some more later with operator and sampler. It gives you options because it's quicker to delete things that you don't want than add a channel, throw on a channel. You can literally just click on here and start working. That's the idea behind this, is that you want to be able to just sit down and go without, oh, well, I have to go over here, and then I have to click on plugins, and then you have to find your plugin. This is just to do the work ahead of time. That way you can sit down and just start working. And then after that is my chords, and I guess you could call the chord lead section, where more of my mid-high range will probably show up. After that is my audio session, where, this will do any kind of bouncing or effects to, or any kind of recording where I want to bounce it. Or example, I want to record a vocal, which is on audio 1 at this moment in time, as you can see. After that, I have a lot of effects. I've spent a little more time on this. I just wanted to get this tutorial out, just kind of give you an idea. Now, as you can notice, I've got miscellaneous audio for some random stuff, just in case, something comes up. I just got some extra channels. Now, this is very typical for me to have about, 30 to 40 channels for a track. Not joking. I spend a week on a project, anywhere between 30 and or 40 hours. Well, somewhere in that general vicinity. I will literally spend an entire week on a track. I'm just a perfectionist, and I like things to sound perfect before they go out. So after that, I have my submaster. Now, if you look and notice how all these audio 2s, they don't say submaster. They actually say FX bus. So if I go past the submaster, you will see that the colors are all the exact same that are over here from my percussion. My basses, my chords. I love to layer. I'm a big layer guy. Even the fact my returns, which over here on the far right, even have a bus themselves. Now, the reason I like to do this is because it just gives you an extra layer of control. For an example, let's say you've got all this stuff going and you notice that your bass just is a little too big. Now, instead of going, and let's say you layered it 4 or 5 channels deep, and instead of going in there and adjusting every single channel individually because you like how the bass sounds by itself, you can actually come in here to the bass bus and grab the fader and just pull the fader down on just the bass bus itself, just giving you an extra layer of control. Now, for example, let's say you did want to do all of your drums on the same reverb or on the same, return effect that you have over here. This is where you would do it, is in your bus section. This just gives you that extra layer of control. And I'm going to say that a lot because I really like having that kind of control. Now, if you're paying attention, you will notice there's a little bit difference. If you can see right here on my submaster and my return bus, notice how the sends are turned off. Now, how you would get that is you would just right mouse click and you would, right now it says enable, but you want to disable. And the reason you want to disable on the submaster and the return, if you actually sent signal through here, and in fact I'll do it real quick, you can get a feedback loop which can cause a problem. Yeah, you decide it got really loud, really big, because what happens is it goes through there, it comes back, it goes through there, it comes back, and it continues to feedback, and you can cause some major issues. So just make sure that all your submasters and all of your returns sends are turned off. Now, these buses are the only thing that are going to submaster. Every single one of these go to my submaster, and the submaster is the only channel that goes to the master. For the same reason, it just gives you that extra layer of control, because maybe you want to do something to your submaster and then do something later. Yes, I know you can do it down here, but this just kind of helps keep things nice and neat and a little bit out of the way. yeah, this is a very generalized basic, and I know it looks really complicated, but this is literally about how 95%-ish of my tracks end up turning out. It literally looks just like this from start to finish. I've just decided to kind of streamline it, and that way I could just kind of sit down and start working. But yeah, I think that'll do for tutorial number 1. If you do have any questions, please post them in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer them in comments or in a future tutorial. And if you're curious what this blue line is, I have the push, so that's just showing me my grid. Just in case this section right here where it says MIDI from or audio to does not show up, all you would have to do is come right here to where this I/O section is on the bottom right, and you could turn this on and off. Now, after you spend all this time creating this section and this default that you want to use as your normal opening page, how do you save it to where it opens that way? What you do is you come over here to where it says Live, go down to Preferences, and then come down to where it says Folder and File. You'll click on that and come over here and click on Save. After you click on Save, it will make this your page all the time. And one thing that you've noticed, if you notice how these are saying monitor in, since I'm getting signal from other audio and from other audio channels, you want to make sure that these are all set to in. One other thing you want to do is these buses that are right here, make sure that the audio from is set to no input, especially if you're working with audio or microphones or any other kind of inputs. You could just get like double sound and it'll just kind of mess with you a little bit. Also, the submaster set to no input as well. In fact, the MIDI over here, for this MIDI signal to work, in fact, I will turn it off and show you. It's normally set to auto, default-wise, and now I'm sending signal, and you can see that the MIDI signal is being sent, but nothing is playing. So to make sure that everything plays, you come over here and to where it says monitor, click on in. But that's going to do it for the default section of this tutorial. Like I said, if you have any comments, questions, please post them below. And you can look at my SoundCloud. That link will be below in the description. And as well as my weekly podcast, I'll put that on here as well. But for now, my name is Jesse Hutton signing out. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If there are any tutorials you would like to know, and I do know them, I'll be happy to try and show you to my best ability. Like I said, this is my first one, and I hope you guys got something out of this. Thank you.